It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Longe. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. I have a rant, basically. It's about, how people cross the express. I'm just wondering why people, especially underneath the pedestrian bridges, I would like to know if Lagos State can give us a report on the state of these bridges, why Nigerians or Lagosians don't use those bridges. And then, motorists too sometimes make the mistake in their bid to be kind towards those crossing the express. They stop right there on the express, and then you're behind them. What if another car is coming right behind you? So no one is safe that way. I just need to understand, are there some structural issues with our bridges? Is it just that Nigerians do not laziness?
I remember there was a time where they actually did barricades so people don't cross, and they destroyed it. They intentionally destroy those barricades and get the bikes to pass it, and then now they open it up, the barbed wires, So we the people again. But there are places where the governor needs to create probably more.
There are some bridges that are not safe based on the fact that people rob, but that's late in the night, and sometimes we get a bit harassed during the day on some bridges, but it is not. That's not the real reason. The real reason is majority of Nigerians are lazy about climbing the bridge, and we have the opportunity of just crossing. You might as well just cross. How
are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm good. Past 2 nights, I've gotten better sleep, and I just went back to doing exactly what I used to do before. That I now felt like I was too busy to do. Meditate before sleeping. Just that 30 minutes of intentionally quieting your mind. Because sometimes I realize I slept for a long time and my brain was still working. I wake up and I'm tired because I didn't remember what I should do, which is try to meditate before going to bed. 2 nights now, and I feel like...
I thought it was meditate when you wake up. Well, they still keep changing the rules.
I do both. I've been doing both. So in the morning is gratitude meditation. Before going to bed, it is like declutter your mind meditation. And it really has been... And I wish to do it before. Because BC come back, because at least BC would have looked at me and say, you're not sleeping well, meditate.
How are you doing, Toby?
I'm very well, thank you. My children went on holiday. Yay. So it was their first time having the train experience. I went with them over the weekend, and it was really good. And so yesterday, myself and my husband had some time alone to just make videos. We had a YouTube channel that we're always posting content. But since children came in, we just moved on with life. So yesterday was a good time for us to make the video, and it was so beautiful.
Nice.
Yes. Fantastic.
Young couple make videos.
When you have children, life has...
So the Christendom is mourning. Pastor Taiwo declared passed on, and it's quite... Everybody was a shock, was a shame, and people just been pouring out their condolences, and our hearts go out to the family, to the entire church, a fountain of life. It's just one of those things that you just say, you can't even ask God why. It's like a but you have to just accept it. But he lived a good life, and we're thankful for
many people.
The lives that he has impacted. I used to be one of those that used to go to that Thursday many years ago.
Wow.
It really changed my life. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to have at least experienced the word through him. Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the front pages of the papers. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Don't forget, you can share your stories with us on Your View at TVC Communications YourViewTVC.tv. It's important for you to send your stories. We'd love to hear from you so that we can share real life stories and see how we can also help you in getting some insights and also from Nigerians on your issues. Okay, we're going to start now with the nation. Federal government begins reform to end 20 trillion naira yearly tax loss. Pope cautions on dangers of artificial intelligence. CBN hits Niger Rep Junta with sanctions. APC defends president's choice of ministers. Resident doctors set to end strike. And Fountain of Life Pastor Taiwo Dukoya dies at 67. Zenith Bank signs MOU with African Development FTA on the trade promotion. Okay, let me start with the major headlines. So we all read it in the papers that the president had inaugurated the Presidential Tax Reforms Committee, and the chairman is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He was saying that he said that we're losing about 20 trillion naira worth of taxes. According to him, we lose the tax was mainly attributable to the evasion and inefficiency of the collection process. He said if you get everyone that needs to pay their taxes to pay, we will not be where we are today. So we think that the gap is somewhere between the region of 20 trillion naira. And the president specifically said that the consequences of the ongoing failure of our tax regime are real and they are significant. The inability of the government to efficiently raise revenue has led directly to over-reliance on borrowing to finance public spending. And he said that the government cannot properly fund itself unless we are able to increase our revenue. So he wants to stop the continuous payment of debt as we are paying our debt from borrowing. So we can't continue to do that. So hopefully this new team are able to provide, he has given them timelines, what he wants immediately, what he wants in 6 months, and what he wants within a year. So hopefully there's some kind of...
I'll quickly just throw in a timeline for him too. We Nigerians still want to know how soon he would reduce the size of government, so that when we start paying tax to cover the burden of Nigeria, we are not putting money into people's pockets unnecessarily. We're putting money into infrastructure and governance.
Well, certain regions are asking for more representation, so you might have to increase governance. And also, Ajero spoke to him recently, and he said that he lives in 2-bedroom apartments. So we'll see how that goes. But let's take another story in the nation. Any other story in the nation?
Yes, I do have a story. Okay, you don't have one. So there are two men claiming to be victims of job racketeering at the Federal Character Commission. They met the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating illegal employment rings in federal agencies, and they're asking the FCC they're asking that the House of Reps should prevail on the EFCC to please give them the jobs that they paid for. So there are two victims. There's an Abdul Malik Isa Ahmed and Ali Mohammed Yaro. They had paid 1 million naira and 2 million naira each for their appointment letters. They said that they had been waiting to be posted and given specific responsibilities. They didn't get that, but eventually, they said beginning of this year, they started receiving their salaries. And in the course of, explaining how it happened, Ahmed explained that he's the first out of 21 children to have graduated from his family. He had graduated, 11 years, no job. And when he was approached, for this, he thought it was the right thing to do, and he gave money for this. And now, and they had gone, so now they were waiting for them to be, he said there are about 27 of them, and they were waiting for them to be posted and given specific responsibilities. And they were afraid to even ask too much because it would look like an affront to the FCC. But here they are today trying to, at least know what has happened to their money. And they're like, we paid for this, we need our money back, or we need the job. Anyway, our country, there's too many things.
So, yes, Pope Francis has warned against the use of AI. He said even though for many years he didn't know how to use a computer, let me just say, Pope Francis is 86 years old, but the reason for his warning, which is ahead of the Catholics' Vatican, there's an event, Peace Day. It was with the idea of saying that we don't want the AI to affect the people that are fragile and excluding people from opportunities. He also mentioned the fact that we must, as we are working on this artificial intelligence, we must do it in a responsible way that reflects ethics and we should understand that they can be dangerous, then the article highlighted the fact that in 2020 the Vatican partnered with Microsoft and IBM to promote the ethical development of AI, and it is to help with regulation of intrusive technology, such as facial recognition. And I think AI is something that should worry us, but we should worry from the perspective of how best to harness it so that it doesn't become a criminal tool, but an advantage to help us achieve more.
Yes, so NARD set to end strike after 2 weeks. The striking members are set to call off their 2-week strike. So there was a closed-door meeting yesterday with the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and other principal officers of the upper chamber yesterday in Abuja. And so the conversation was that they had tabled their request to the Senate President, and he said that he's very hopeful that when he and the other representatives, when they table their discussions before the council today, something positive would come out of it, and then the resident doctors too are ready to call off their strike, and hopefully at the end of today they will be able to call off their strike. Okay,
let's move on quickly now to the Punch. Niger, ECOWAS plans fresh sanctions on Burkina Faso, Mali, and UN talks fail. Tinubu set a 30-day tax reform target. UI student mixed panel. Father blames hospital for elevator death, doctor buried. Edo PDP sues for peace between Obaseki and deputy. Tinubu Sanwo-Olu church members mourn as Pastor Odukoya dies. 120 billion naira debt, banks offer telcos repayments plan. And Labour rejects Gbajabiamila on subsidy negotiations, writes National Assembly. Okay, which story starting in the Punch?
I'll just take the human interest. So, remember the late Dr. Diaso, the doctor that died in the elevator. She was laid to rest on Tuesday. Reporters spoke with the heartbroken father, and for him, he says he blames the hospital management. He says there's still inconsistencies in the reports that were given to him. He said one said she died in the elevator, another said she wasn't dead and was rushed to the hospital, and then the report that she did not get blood, he says it does not make sense. For him, he felt that she was killed, that this is beyond negligence, because the amount of blood that she lost, how would you now take someone like that to hospital and say that you could not get blood? He was asked if he would take legal actions. He said that this time will tell.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we continue with the review. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the grand comedian of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Gbenga Adeyinka the First. OJ right here, 7 of 7, like you already know.
Gbenga right here, 7 of 7, like I'm beginning to know.
It's now time for the question.
You don't scare me one bit. Bata bata, I go drink. So.
Okay. So now one chance for Inter. My first question. Do you remember the names of the winners of that edition of StarQuest?
Of course I do.
Why do you?
And I hate myself for this, because I have this question for you. Final question. No. Where outside Nigeria and what year? Think you're the only one that can be wicked.
I am thinking, because I know back in the day.
Don't think. Answer my question quick. You are thinking too much. I don't like it.
The UK.
Final answer. Okay. I said, God, please, let me to perform outside Nigeria.
Wait.
And God gave me a show in Ghana. Drink, my friend, drink. I don't
overthink this thing. See where I can.
Yes, you overthink them.
I would say you should catwalk.
Let's catwalk. Where are we?
No, that's not catwalking.
That's good walking.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the one who can make time stand still forever, Mr. Kelechi Amadi. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, my brother.
You love that intro, Abi?
Yeah. It was great.
Okay.
Thank you.
We try like that.
Thank you.
Now my question, which I feel is a cheap question.
Oh, go ahead.
What does ISO stand for?
That is it. I think I'll drink.
No, you're joking.
I'm not joking.
Kelechi Amadi. No. Seyi, you didn't whine me. You're whining me now.
I think I'll drink.
Huh?
No problem.
Okay.
I've always known it as ISO. I never bothered to know what it means. I know what it means, but I never bothered to know what the acronym is. Tell me the brand of camera that I use, so much so that I even became an ambassador. That's very easy. It's out there.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
I just said, look, I give you this one as a token of my appreciation.
Sony.
Drink!
I'm not done. You did not say final answer. You did not ask me if that was my final answer.
Thanks for staying with us. Still reviewing Punch, another story. Let me take the story concerning Labour's meeting with the Senate. So the NLC had gone to the Senate to have a meeting because they were quite worried. Actually, this meeting was scheduled long ago, about 2 weeks ago. So Labour was saying that they rejected the Chief of Staff, that's Femi Gbajabiamila, being the one to negotiate on behalf of the President of the federal government on the palliatives after subsidy removal. According to them, the Chief of Staff has been too busy to call for a meeting, adding that the President had wage award committee has yet to be to have a meeting after 2 whole months that they were inaugurated. The Labour leaders were in the Senate to actually discuss with the leadership and see if they can help push the President to fast track the plans on palliatives. They were saying that, according to Ajero specifically, we're saying that 3,000 buses are too small. If the government has saved 1 trillion naira in 2 months, why can't the government channel this money to tackle alternatives? The Senate President, on the other hand, however, said that because we save 1 trillion naira doesn't mean that we don't have 30 trillion naira debt. That government too has other things, obligations across board, and local and foreign debts are still in the government's portfolio. Even though, either way, he will still talk to the President to see how they can fast track on the palliatives that has been promised earlier by the federal government.
So I have a story. Tinubu Sanwo-Olu church members mourn as Pastor Odukoya dies at 67. So the President, through the Special Advisor of Media and Publicity and the Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, through the Chief Press Secretary, have sent their condolences to the family and the church of Pastor Odukoya. And the article goes on to highlight that Pastor Odukoya has lost his wife first, his first wife, and Pastor Bimbo. A lot of people know Pastor Bimbo. In 2005, through a plane crash, Sosoliso Airline, and then lost his second wife again, Pastor Nomthi, in 2021 through cancer. And now this is happening. So it's a really sad one, and we send our condolences to the families and the church at large.
So the update from the Senate, many people have been looking forward to getting details about who is going to emerge as chair of some committees and
juicy committees.
Yes, and I'm starting with one of the juiciest one, which is going to someone who cried in the last time that Nigeria and politics hasn't been fair to him. But the former governor of Abia State, Ojiuzo Kalu, has emerged the chairman of the Committee on Privatization.
Is that juicy?
Is that juicy?
Privatization, they're the ones selling everything now.
Anything that doesn't have petroleum in it is not
Nigeria is selling right now.
Okay. Oil, I hear juice.
Exactly.
That's the hidden money that we don't see.
Oh, gosh. So, former Senator Lawan also got to be the chairman committee of defense, while former governor of Zamfara State got to be chairman of water resources, and former minority leader got to be chairman of power, while the ex-governor of Sokoto State got to be...
State got Navy. They all
as in former... exactly. That, I wanted to be hint. I wanted to list former. So you realize that in the Senate we seem to reward experience. Let me say it in a positive way. Experience. We are rewarding experience.
Moving on now to Daily Sun. Nigerians to pay more tax. Hey, that's how Sun has couched the meeting that they had. Ministerial list reps Deputy Speaker joins senators in seeking more slots for Southeast. President meets Okonjo-Iweala, Pate over economy. Pastor Taiwo Odukoya dies at 67 in U.S. Police identify arrest personnel for killing Rivers resident. Resident doctors meet Senate presidents, make call of strike today. All right, so let me take the ministerial nominees. So while Tokwe is asking government to reduce the cost of governance, the Senate, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has commented, as requested, that the President should increase more slots to the Southeast region in line with the federal character principle. According to him, he commended the President on his choice of ministers so far and said that that he's fulfilling his promise to increase the number of women and youth in the FEC committee, which is great. He's done that. However, we need more slots in the Southeast. So how are we going to marry that with cost of governance?
But they can remove some people.
So I get to remove some people.
So,
Abi, they'll remove some people.
So
it's nice to say that
double slots, they should remove it.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Let's give competent people. That's my own.
Yes.
Anyway, the DG for the World Trade Organization, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, and the Minister Designate, Dr. Ali Pate, visited with the President and, at the presidential villa in Abuja. And while she was speaking, she said that, first of all, this was a quiet visit. It was not an official World Trade Organization mission call. It wasn't official, but that they engaged him on, just how things are going on in Nigeria and the sufferings of Nigeria. And the President told them that he's well aware of the sufferings of Nigeria. She said, we saw the President and focused on how do we support Nigerians at this time. She said their conversation with the President centered around formulating approaches to stimulate job creation, foster women's empowerment, and bolster digital trade within Nigeria's economy. We talked about how, for the longer term, we need to do investment opportunities that Nigerians can seize in the pharmaceutical industry. We're trying to, that World Trade Organization says that there's so many ways also that it can help Nigeria economy going forward. She said it was a good conversation. The President is aware of the sufferings and they're going to work to see how best to take us out of this tough situation. Well done.
Police arrest personnel for killing Rivers residents. So apparently there was this man that went to the bar with his wife and 3 children. So there was an uproar and mobile policemen came and they shot this particular man on close range. Apparently, the article goes on to say that the man was reportedly shot dead at close range in the presence of his wife and 3 children. So people were just suspecting that who would have done this, apparently. So when they found out that it was a mobile police officer, the police now had to arrest him, right? And it's really a sad one because it was his wife that went to make the complaint.
Right. Okay.
Please, the Nigerians are
Still
dying.
in Son?
Yes.
Let's move on to Vanguard.
Nigerians are dying.
Where?
Have you not taken the story in Son?
The striking.
Have you taken the story in Son? Yes, you have. Let's move on to Vanguard, please. Federal government's reliance on borrowing. I'm sure that story is in Vanguard. You can take it in Vanguard. We have to move on. Federal government's reliance on borrowing must end, says Tinubu. Strike. Nigerians dying. Federal government begs doctors. Now, Toko, you can take your story. Come on, man. There are rules. Nigerians obey rules. Edo PDP to wade into Obaseki and Shebu rift. Niger coup, ECOWAS ultimatum not Nigeria's mandate.
The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, who are the ones actually on strike. The NMA is just mediating between NAD and the Ministry of Labour. Representing the Ministry of Labour, the Permanent Secretary, Daju Kachulum, made the appeal in Abuja that the government is doing their best to meet the striking doctors at the point of their needs, but that they should note the fact that several Nigerians are dying due to lack of health care, and that we should put aside the obstacles, both contrived and real, and work towards speedy resolution for a better Nigeria.
Okay.
So
I have a story concerning the 44-year-old woman. Her surname was withheld. Her name is Taiwo. She was arrested by the police in Lagos for allegedly using her niece as a drug courier. Benjamin Hudemi, that's the PPR of the police in Lagos, paraded the woman. Oh, you took that story already?
No. We're saying they have no conscience.
Okay. Paraded the woman before newsmen on Tuesday at the State Police Command in Ikeja. The police image maker was saying that the suspect was arrested after a good Samaritan found the 10-year-old girl in around Agege area near Penn Cinema. The discovery prompted the further police question, then revealed that this had been going on for a while, so they had to start investigation, and then she admitted that this girl, she admitted that this had been her way to courier her drugs from house to shop where she sells and beat the police. So they take a little girl, and the girl is the courier.
10-year-old girl,
10-year-old
so that they will not check her.
So the police now check her, exactly.
Wow.
Really, sir,
Yes, so we have the Senate may reinvite El-Rufai and two others, ministerial nominees. As we remember, Nasser El-Rufai, Kaduna State, Stella Okotete of Delta State, and Abubakar Danladi are yet to be confirmed after their screening. And, you know, they said it has something to do with security. And the Senate is saying that if security is not satisfied, then Senate cannot be satisfied yet. I think we also remember during El-Rufai's performance at the screening, someone had raised an objection saying that there was a petition against him that bordered on security, unity and cohesiveness of the Nigerian nation. And so I remember Akwabio said that that was not the place to discuss those sort of petitions, that there were other petitions like that against some other nominees. And so that is what they are discussing. Once it is cleared, then they will be reinvited if need be.
10 seconds. I'm not sure you have time. Story? Okay, let's move on. All right, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Ikechukwu Sunday Okonkwo, aka Cross. Now your intro without
Wow.
So there's a name that thing that's.
I'm just drinking because you said I should drink. There's no particular answer.
You think it's only that can be wicked?
What's the answer?
Subterfuge.
Eh?
Yeah. They claim you did, but you said it just happened. That
And it's called what again?
Subterfuge.
Such a fuge.
Subterfuge.
So you look me finish from head to toe. You look at a person who go know what to become such. Yeah?
The nude wasn't like a game plan. Or...
I promise you, it was actually a mistake. Like it was sending it to someone, and it just mistakenly just went that.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome pioneer Positive Force member, dancing queen of the 80s, non-conformist, Afrobeat historian in her right, and long-standing member of the multiple award-winning all-female show Your View, Omoyeni, Yeni, Anikulapo Kuti, aka YK Power! Ginger,
take it.
today we'll go here.
Hey, I didn't read you.
Are you sure?
Ha. I'm not here to answer questions, I'm here to drink.
We're in trouble today.
Wait till your age.
I was close now.
Eh?
I said 1975.
He said 73. He said 75.
I confirm.
Fellas wasn't even born till 75.
So will I drink half?
You go drink. Take. Make I help you. Russian.
No be half.
Which half? You will make me drink. I'll give you a hint.
Lights in no. Nepa.
Thanks for staying with us. Recently, as we discussed, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu inaugurated the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. What is scrolling down instead of up? Yes, so we have with us the Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me on your program.
Good to have you, sir. Before doing the paper review, we had touched a bit on the objectives of your committee and what they're supposed to do. Obviously, revenue increment is one of the major issues we need in this country, and how to reform our taxes. Could you again help us highlight what exactly the president has asked you to do and the timelines he has given to you?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the mandate given to the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee by Mr. President essentially covers 3 areas. Number 1 is fiscal governance. Number 2 is tax reforms. And number 3 is growth facilitation. So the first one on fiscal governance has to do with issues around how we manage our debt, our revenue, and our spending. So it would include, some provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Act about you must not exceed certain limits, your debt to, your budget deficit as a percentage of your GDP should be within certain range, and even how do you ensure that you have coordination between the fiscal policy and monetary policy, which is something that a lot of people have complained about in the past that could be better coordinated. You also have the dimension of the subnational, which is really the vertical coordination. How do you ensure that federal government's policies, state policies, and even local government, in some cases, are aligned, such that Nigerians who are trying to make a legitimate means of living don't find their life more difficult than it needs to be. Then when it comes to tax reform, that's a big one. This is the area where we're going to be looking at addressing the problem of multiple taxation. Mr. President was clear even on day 1 during his inauguration that we need to address multiple taxation. I'm not sure there's anyone I've met in Nigeria who disagrees. What we really haven't done over the years is take concrete and practical steps in doing that. And that's what we're hoping to be able to do now. Our ambition, which I should say is a plan, not a promise, is to see whether we can get to a single digit in terms of the total number of taxes across all levels of government, so that if you add up taxes collected by federal government, state government, and local government, it should not be more than 9. Currently, officially, is over 60. Unofficially, is over 100. And when it comes to growth facilitation, this is where we're looking at what are those impediments that come in the way of doing business, in the way of prosperity for our people. Some of them will range from dealing with import and export. Some of them is small business just setting up. Sometimes you just set up a small business. It's as if you committed a crime. All manners of agencies will line up collecting all manner of taxes and levies even before you have made your first sale. So those are the broad areas that the reform will cover. And then the whole idea is we would raise revenue in the process of doing all of this without imposing new taxes on Nigerians and without even increasing the rate of existing taxes, because we think that the money we're looking for is not with the poor people. That's why Mr. President said we are not taxing poverty. It's actually, it doesn't make a lot of sense to tax poor people who have, very little or nothing to give. And they've made a lot of sacrifices already. So we think that the money that we're going to make for this country to fund the development will come from the tax gap, which is really people who have the ability to pay now and they are not paying, or they are paying incorrectly. Some of them are actually just feeding it without consequences.
Okay.
So when it comes to taxes, I was hearing two things from you, sir. And even when I read the report, it seemed a bit conflicting. We have multiple taxation and we want to increase the tax bracket. I feel that there are a lot of Nigerians that are paying something that is not getting to the government. So in order of priority, and a lot of people are worried that it means we'll have to pay more. So I want you to diffuse the tension of Nigerians are paying more to Nigerians that are not paying will start paying. How do you want to capture those that are not paying that will start paying, and those that are paying informally to start paying it formally?
Yeah, so good question. So we're going to have generally Nigerians pay less than they currently are paying now. But you also mentioned this, and you're spot on. So we have so many Nigerians who are paying taxes, and those taxes are not getting to government. So which means the opportunity for you to receive any benefit from the taxes you pay is zero if it's not getting to government. That's because the way we collect those taxes, sometimes we use unprofessional officers who are not trained. They're very crude in their approach. Most of those taxes are collected in cash and you can't account for them. Some of them are even collected by non-state actors. So government needs to deal with that. Look, states can't deal with it except government. So what then happens is if someone is running a small business today and they are paying 15 taxes, when we are done, maybe they will pay only one, right? That one will be less than the 15 they are paying now, but that one they pay gets to government. So government collects more, even though the people are paying less. And in addition to that, what we also hope to achieve is that in terms of threshold, we're going to collect data from everyone. Whether you're poor or rich, whether you're unemployed, it's important for government to have the data for everyone. In fact, this one that we're thinking about interventions for fuel subsidy removal to cushion the impact, if we had been collecting proper data for taxes in the past, America just credited people's account. They knew who was poor from your tax returns. The way you use your mobile phone, for example, is an indication of whether you're poor or not. If you only recharge with 120 naira in the whole month, flashing people up and down, right? And you don't have a bank account, there's some intelligence that I will get about you, and it will give me an indication of whether you're poor or not. And when we need intervention, we don't need to put cash in Ghana must go and be going to villages. If they don't have a bank account, you credit their mobile phone. Most people have mobile phones, right? And they can use it as food stamp or anything you want them to use that money for. So this is really the dimension that sometimes people don't pay attention to. There's no intention to increase the tax burden on Nigerians. But of course, if you are not a poor Nigerian and you have been evading taxes, then you feel like it's an additional burden because you are just not paying before. Bear in mind that if you allow people to get away with evasion, it's not good for society, because if you and I are in this...
Just a little example you gave on how to collect data, and because many times when we talk about informal sector, we just say, do we have data? We hear, yes, we have data, but just how it's done, it's just never been so intelligently put out. But so that will lead me to my question about how you mentioned under growth facilitations, creating like a sustainable business environment for people. Like, what are the ways we're going to do that? The ease of doing business, how is it going to be made possible? Could you just give us a few tips, a few options that you're going to be using for that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if you look at the various reports we've seen, over and over again, if you do another one today, most likely you can even predict what the report will say in terms of the challenges that businesses face, from small business to large ones. So if you focus on micro, nano, small, and medium scale enterprises, which is going to be more of the area we're going to put more energy and focus to be in that space. It's not like the other big companies are not important, but this is the one that will make the most impact for our people. If you see the challenges they face in the past, they'll range from access to finance, lack of managerial skills, multiple taxation is always coming up, over-regulation is another one. So some of those challenges like infrastructure you cannot solve overnight. But things to do with over-regulation, multiple taxation, those are things you can address because they are human-made problems that can be immediately addressed. So what we intend to do, we're going to have very extensive consultation with Nigerians. So we have various groups that we're going to be speaking to. In fact, NASME, which is the small and medium enterprise, we listen to Nigerians, and then we tackle those issues one by one. If we take multiple taxation, we'll say, tell us the taxes you pay. Don't just say that you pay 15 taxes. Can you give us the receipt? Then we know who is collecting it, where they're collecting it, and we can go to the source of that problem to tackle it. If it's over-regulation, who are the people over-regulating you? Can we harmonize those regulations so that instead of 15, you have only one? Can we create transparency in how you get permits and licenses, even if they are needed at all in the first place? So if you want to export, what are the challenges getting your goods to the port, getting out of the country, quality-wise, dealing with customs? So it's a lot of work that we want to do. But we're excited because we know that this would open up a lot of opportunities for Nigerians, as well as for business, in the medium to long term.
Okay.
Yes, so this is a welcome development, and I really appreciate it. But once the news came out that 18%, Nigerians didn't want to even know the details of that. Once they saw 18% tax, and they were just like, what is this again? Knowing fully well that there's already a removal of subsidy and the naira has been floated. So what are Nigerians to expect in the short term regarding this policy, and subsequently, what are the long-term plans for this to be executed?
Yeah, good question. So Mr. President has given us a mandate to do this work within a period of 1 year, divided into phases, I would say milestones. So the first one is within 30 days. Come up with quick wins. We call them quick wins because these are areas where you really don't need to do a lot of consultation. People have agreed already that these are areas for intervention for government. And I'll give you one example. So there's value-added tax on diesel, right? We removed subsidy on petrol, and prices have gone up, prices of goods and services and everything. If you take out or suspend that VAT on diesel, what you will do is you cushion the impact on the cost of, in fact, diesel is used more for production than even petrol. Factory costs will come down. Some of those big buses, like the Moloe in Lagos, they're powered by diesel, and they're used mostly by the poorest people. We have issues to do with Nigerians who want to stay in Nigeria and be able to work within the global value chain and earn dollars while being in Nigeria. We have provisions in our laws that don't make that possible. Can we not amend it? Those laws were inherited from our colonial masters. The world has moved on, but the laws are still there. Can we amend those ones? We have provisions today that require that certain taxes and levies be paid in dollars in Nigeria. Why are you paying taxes in foreign currency? People will then go to the foreign exchange market to go and queue up to buy dollars to pay government. We should promote our own currency, not another country's currency. So those are some of the areas where we want to help take out the pain that Nigerians are going through. Some of them are going to be immediate within about 30 days. Some of them will take a bit longer, 6 months, and then ultimately we hope that all of these are great ideas we can implement within a period of 1 year. The 30 days, 6 months, and 1 year are going to run concurrently, so they are starting from day one, which was yesterday.
Right. All right, so you're the chairman of the committee, and it's made up of a dream team. I saw the pictures made up of technocrats, some politicians were there, and we also observed the young lady from UI. How did they make up that team, and whose idea was it, and how did you bring that team together, and what's the role of that young lady in this team?
Yeah, it's great. So, to address, such an important issue as fiscal governance, revenue transformation, how do you ensure there's growth that is inclusive in the economy? You certainly need a lot of people because you don't want to use your own lenses and narrow perspective to then make policies for Nigeria, which is the same thing some of us have complained about in the past. We don't want to be guilty of the same, offense. So the idea is to make sure we have broad representation. You see from the list that we've shared, you have professional bodies, you have organized private sector such as Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, we have women in business. Women in business, for example, were very excited. They said, at least for once, somebody remember us. How would anybody forget women when they are trying to fix the economy? We also feel like the young people also should be involved. That's why we brought in the university task clubs. They're all over universities across Nigeria, young people who are really very passionate about their country. So bring them on board to share their little ideas, let them do some research. In the process, they would even appreciate the country more and become your ambassadors in spreading the message about what is possible in our country. We also have a lot of government MDAs, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, you have Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment, you have the Central Bank, you have NIPC, that's Investment Promotion Commission, you have, Customs Service, of course, the FRS, the Joint Task Board. The whole idea is let everybody that needs to be on the table, let them be on the table without having too large a committee. And the way we want to be effective, because you don't want to put 60 people in one room and trying to agree anything, it may be impossible to do that. We're breaking into subcommittees, about 6 of them. So the size of one committee will be between 10 to 15. Okay. And then the head of those committees will then come together in a steering committee where we make the final decision that we recommend to government, including some of the work we have to do affects sub-national. So we'll be speaking to NEC and the Governors Forum. And also we have the local government represented, even on this committee as well.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation with you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's your view. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. we need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yeah.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing with our guest. Tokwe had a question for a break.
Yes, so first, gush over the committee. Really excited about this committee, but I have learned not to be so excited about committees in Nigeria because we have had several amazing committees that have put together solutions in several documents that are lying somewhere around the ministries that we haven't implemented. So while Nigerians are hopeful for change in taxes, is there any law backing up your time, this 1 year time you are dedicating to helping to, with the help of 60 other people, reform our tax system? How are we sure that it will not be a waste? How are we sure that what you're putting together will actually be implemented? That's one. Number two, how can you help address some industry-specific challenges? And I'll give an example of my industry, real estate. We have to be a member of Redan. You're paying. You have to join Las Rera because you are in Lagos. You are paying. You are also going to pay the government taxes as well. Then the local government where you are paying. So there are multiple, and I don't know if that is some of the things that you are looking at in your committee, if there's any solution to those kind of industry-specific challenges, because I know it cuts across. Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. So on the first one about, we've had all manners of committees before, and I do agree with you, which is why I was smiling as you were asking the question. And then the reports are always very beautiful, and then we don't implement. This was something Mr. President was very mindful of, and that's why intentionally for this committee, it's not a committee to write a report and submit it after 1 year, and then hope and pray that it will be implemented. No, from day one that we start this work, which is, I'll say effectively today, if we come up with an idea tomorrow, I mean literally tomorrow, and we push it to the relevant approving authority, which could be Mr. President, it could be National Economic Council, it could be Federal Revenue Service, whoever it is that by law has the power to approve it, once it's been approved, to implement it, we then go ahead and implement it. For example, if we say that, we don't want to have all these 50-something taxes that are creating problems in Nigeria, once it's approved, we're going to write a bill to repeal all of them, right? And we take it to the National Assembly and we pass it, while we're still continuing with our work. So one thing that makes this, committee very exciting for us is that additional authority, and I will say also the opportunity to implement alongside our recommendation. And we're hopeful that this will make a big difference, that even after we're done with this important national assignment, we can then copy this. Even other countries, some countries in Africa have reached out to me already, and they say, well, this seems exciting. We're going to be watching what you're doing. So this can become a template for government going forward, so you stop writing reports and you start doing work. Now, to your second question about industry-specific challenges, I know very well that those challenges are all over the place. Whether it's real estate, whether it's creative industry and entertainment, whether it's professional services, whether it's manufacturing, there's no one sector in Nigeria, even farming, right? So you would have thought that people should just be, nice to farmers. Even farming, they have their own challenges. So what we're going to do is, again, we will not claim to know everything. We will engage with everyone. Very soon you see the list of our stakeholder engagements. Once we engage with them, we'll understand from their point of view. We'll start with what government can deal with. Now, if associations decide to impose levies on themselves, there's not a lot government can do about that. We can only just encourage them to consider, because sometimes some of these problems are self-imposed by associations. Some people are already there. They want others from coming. You see all manner of ridiculous levies and charges that they impose on them. For those things, we just appeal to Nigerians to say, at the end of the day, this is about our country, and we have to live for a purpose that is bigger than ourselves or our very, narrowly focused areas of interest.
Right.
Okay, so in the papers I read, when you were talking about the existing laws being outdated, and I was just thinking also of what you've just said about new bills that will be ushered, in the old bills that will be repealed and new ones that would encompass what you're about to do. But I wonder what authority, we know what you do at the federal level, and at the state level, if there's no harmony, how is that going to work out? And the team itself, are we going to have local hubs in the different states that work directly with you at the federal level?
Yeah, so the membership of the committee cuts across all the 6 geopolitical zones, so which means those people who live in those places, we're not going to create offices, because we also don't want to be accused of something we believe is wrong, which is this very high cost of governance and even of administering the revenue system in Nigeria. So we're going to only just have an office in Abuja and one in Lagos. The rest of it will be done when we're having engagement. We'll visit some states, so that will be physical, but we'll not create offices in those different places. So that's to address, the second part of your question about how we, covered the whole of Nigeria.
Okay.
So your question around, yes.
First question.
Oh, he's asking.
Okay, let Toby jump in here. Toby, go
Okay.
ahead.
I like how you beautifully allayed the fears of the common man. And I'm rephrasing your words. What I hear you say is that we're not coming for the common man. But then again, I'm thinking off my head that what plans do we expect to widen the tax net so as to reduce the overdependence of borrowing to fund government expenditure? Because that has been one of the major problems in Nigeria, such that we keep borrowing to fund government expenditure.
So the areas where we're looking to find the money, we think the money is there, we just need to find it and put it in the right places. So there is a tax gap, which means as of today, if you just look at VAT alone, right, or look at personal income tax, you'll find that there are people who buy brand new cars and they don't pay the VAT. There are people who go to very expensive restaurants and they don't pay VAT. I've seen a manifest of importation of armored vehicles. So these are bulletproof, brand new vehicles, and they were declared at very ridiculous amount, I think even like 2 million naira. Wow. So those guys clearly have the ability to pay. They just decide not to pay, and there has been little or no consequences. That's what we want to change for our country. These same people that are doing the wrong thing, they will not go to the UK or the US after they relocated and do that, right? If it's right to do something in a developed country where things work, why do you then do otherwise in your own country, which is really the only place you can call home? We also have issues to do with incentives. So there are some incentives that were, they were sensible 20 years ago, but we did nothing about them, and today they are not making sense anymore. There's a cost-benefit analysis of if I'm giving away 1 naira as government by way of incentive, the value I'm getting in return must be more than 1 naira, otherwise there's no point. Some of those incentives are even distortive, such that they don't allow the market, principles to operate effectively, because someone has assets, they can get incentive, another person does not know anyone, they can't get incentive, and therefore they cannot compete in the same market. The cost of collection is also very high. We collect so little in revenue, but our cost of collection is one of the highest in the world. So can we bring that down? Internationally, the cost of collecting revenue is around 1%. For Nigeria, it ranges between 5 to 10%. That's way too high. And also you can see, by just harmonizing revenue collection functions, instead of having 63 MDAs at the federal government level, you have only one. That in itself saves you a lot of money. So this combined impact of task gap, efficiency of collection, harmonizing or rationalizing incentives are the areas we think that the money will come from. That's why Mr. President was confident to say that we're not going to tax poverty, we're not going to introduce new taxes, yet he said that we would collect more, such that in the next 2 to 3 years, we have our GDP, tax to GDP ratio in the region of 18%, which is slightly above the African average as we speak.
And I know I have to wrap up with you because you have to go somewhere, but the truth is that, I'm just worried. My only worry is that I hope other agencies will be able to work with you. You might have conflicting roles with FIRS, for example. Other agencies, I know the president has said everybody must cooperate with the committee. So I'm hoping the Nigerian faction won't play a part where we'll be having issues. But we wish you all the best, Mr. Oyedele, with your team. And we hope that because we are friends of you, the house, you'll be coming at least once a month, be giving us reports too, what you're doing. We'd like to hear from you as often as possible to give us an update on how the committees is faring.
Yes, we'll be very happy to give a regular update because we think that this is national service and Nigerian people are ultimately our employers and we owe it the responsibility to be accountable to them. So we're going to put out our mandate in more detail so that you can actually hold us to account about the promises we make. And the question you asked previously was, how do we ensure that, the sub-national, when you're passing the law and all of that, come on board? Yes, we think that they all mean well for our country. Sometimes it's the approach that is different. And all you need to do is to give people a reason to believe that your approach will work better and let them own it. So we're going to co-create these solutions with all Nigerians, including governors, as well as the man and woman on the street. And when we present to the National Assembly, it will not be our ideas. It will be the ideas of Nigerians that we want, lawmakers, who are equally representing Nigerians. I'm sure that they've already said to us that they're not going to stop us from doing our job. So we have the support from the lawmakers, we have from the executive, we have from sub-national, we have from the organized private sector. Actually, there's nothing we need again that we don't have. And the political will is very, very encouraging now, more than anything we've seen in the recent past in Nigeria. So whatever we cannot do now, we should not blame God about it. We should blame ourselves. But I'm so positive Nigerians are on board. So exciting times ahead.
You've been with PricewaterhouseCoopers for many years. We trust you. We know you know what you're doing, and we're looking forward to the best. Good luck and all the best with you and your team.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go on a quick break now. When we come back, we'll continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, Have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the grand comedian of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Benga Dainka the First. OJ right here, 7 of 7, like you already know.
Benga right here, 7 of 7, like I'm beginning to know.
It's now time for the question.
You don't scare me one bit. Bata bata, I go drink. So.
Okay. So now one chance for Inter. My first question. Do you remember the names of the winners of that edition of StarQuest?
Of course I do.
Why do you?
And I hate myself for this because I have this question for you. Final question. No. Where outside Nigeria and what year? I think you're the only one that can be wicked.
Thanks for staying with us. Now we're moving on to another topic. Yesterday, we took a story about the son of the former governor of Lagos State, Mr. Seyi Jakande. He was speaking at the lecture recently hosted by the NGE. I think it was the very first lecture in honor of former governor of Lagos State, Governor Jakande, Alhaji Jakande. And one of the things he said caught our attention. He was trying to allude to the selfless service of his father. And he was speaking at the event saying that his father actually conceived the idea of Banana Island. The man actually started, he conceived the concept of a Banana Island, actually filled up part of the land within that island, but he never allocated any plot of land to himself. And this was a governor, a former governor that many had celebrated, that was very pious. He was never one to garner wealth or try to become rich or enrich himself in any way. He was actually just serving. But we look at that story and we think of how far that brings you when you see other children of former governors who are done well and probably leveraged on their father's position as governor. For example, I can say maybe Femi Otedola, for example, his father was the governor of Lagos State, and his story is probably different from Mr. Seyi Jakande because they're two different opportunities. So the question today is, when we talk about integrity, or we talk about selfless service, I think that's a better way to put it, selfless service, how selfless should we be when it comes to our own service to humanity and service to our family? I was sharing with the ladies at some point that my father was a lawyer, and when he takes cases, he would take oranges. You know, while his friends were buying houses in was it Dolphin was winning then? In fact, Dolphin, he wasn't buying. He was just, doing his selfless service. Today, I was hustling to buy a house, in Lagos. The other day I had the opportunity to see Chief Razak Okoya, and I was towards my book launch, and I was telling them, when I started making money, it was your daddy that told me to go and buy land. Yeah, I didn't know anything. I was just making money. I didn't know how to buy land. It was your father that told me to go and buy land. He even helped me with the documentation to go and buy land. So man, I'm like, eh? So he could tell you to buy land. He, for his family, you know. So, but that is what we see, and we think, does it still hold water today? Where you say you have an opportunity. Should you help your family? Or in the name or in the sake of selflessness, you just serve and go. And then your children in 20, 30 years are now saying, oh, my father did this and we didn't get any plot of land. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think there's still value in that selfless service? You want to start, Mariam?
Okay, so it's sad, unfortunately, that today we have to put integrity on the table and look at it, whether integrity is good or is not good, because of the way the world is. The truth is, it's better really in the end to be a person of integrity. I mean, for yourself, you can go to, I mean, for a lot of people, you know, on their deathbed, there's so many things that they will regret and there are many things that they'll be proud of. And one I hear is, you know, that you did the right thing. For your children and those behind you, they will have to make a name for themselves or whatever it is that they think is right. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be thinking, oh, thank God I made sure they got, you know, when it's between you and God, I don't think you'll be saying, thank God I make sure I kept houses for them or I kept land for them. You're thinking, I hope I was an upstanding, righteous person while I lived my life. It's also sad, because it looks like integrity has been punished over the years. People with integrity are not people that we respect today, because integrity meant putting, dipping your hands in resources that was not meant for you. But there's this story, my husband says that when he said that was the things that changed in civil service really when the military came. When others, okay, the first set of people, when they left with nothing. And the next set are like, no, never. This is not going to happen to me. You know, I'm going to make sure that I am sorted. And so we have always encouraged that sorting out. And then those who have integrity have been looked at as were not smart enough, they were not wise enough, they did not think about their family. But the truth is, it's best to have integrity and leave that for your children. Your children can also build on that. Having money, you know, there are principles for making money. Some people don't have that opportunity that you have, and they were still able to have make wealth for themselves. The example you gave of Chief Razak Okoya, your father gave him advice. He made money for himself by himself, not through government, but he made wealth for himself. Through experience. And your father gave him that advice. Your father gave him that advice based on his own, you know, education and exposure, and was able to give him advice. If your father had talked to him also about making wealth, maybe there would have been an exchange of knowledge, how you can do that. Okay, you too, for your children, why don't you invest in this business or stop collecting oranges for the services that you render, maybe.
Okay, well, coming to you, that we'll talk about you. I mean, because I want us also to focus this on this issue, because it's quite interesting how, when I heard him speak, when I was reading the conversation, I mean, how he was, I felt he was a bit hurt. Was almost trying to tell the government of Lagos State that, listen, my father has served this land, and maybe we deserve more than we're getting. Maybe that's how it was communicated to me. So I was thinking, how does it come across to you?
So for me, I think, number one, no matter, they say, like, the light can run for 100 years or 20 years, and in one day truth catches up to it. So no matter how much we deface what integrity or selflessness, because in this case, this man was selfless. No matter how we deface selflessness and we applaud selfishness as a society, the results would always show for itself. A community, a society built by selfish people would end up in poverty, as you can see. And a society built by selfless people will end up in growth. And under Jakande's administration, between 1979 to 1983, he built a society on selflessness, and that society experienced massive growth. That's what happens with selflessness. Selfishness brings people down. Selflessness lifts the entire society up. When you're selfish, one person goes up. When you're selfless, everybody gets to go up. And as a country, that is our biggest problem, that our leaders go up, pull a few people to join them up, majority remain down and even go lower. So we need to address that part. Jakande made a name for himself. Alhaji Lateef Jakande. Everywhere you go to Agbara, you will stop at Jakande bus stop. You are going to Isol, Jakande bus stop. Okay. You are in Mile 2, Jakande bus stop. Mile 2, Jakande bus stop. Lekki, Jakande bus stop. Every corner of Lagos in 4 years had a Jakande bus stop. You can change anything if you are selfless in 4 years. Our leaders need to go back and study. The clamor of the Jakande family should be to create a Jakande course for politicians to study on how you can transform a society in a short while via selflessness. Because for me, that is what Jakande represents. Are we appreciating him enough? I'm happy he lived long. He got to we celebrated at 90. I remember the 90th celebration. People stood up to talk about how he created the blueprint of Lagos that thankfully our current president revisited and revamped and were following through. And how he got that acknowledgement at live. You know, he was alive and he was celebrated at 90. People stood around him. I think he lived a very quality life. And every other thing they can use to appreciate him, it should be given to him and his family to appreciate him.
All right, I'm come to you, Toby, because you know, when we talk about this stuff, nobody is in any way watering down the essence of what he did at all. It was more of, if we look at it, for example, like the Femi Otedolas, you know, his father was a governor. And he was probably given some kind of platform. You can't tell me that, oh, he just woke up one morning and became rich. Something probably helped him to build the business. So we're not saying that you steal from government. Sometimes when you have a connection, so your father opened the door for you because he is in office. So there was somebody was talking to me, I'm coming to Toby, a lady was talking to me yesterday saying that her grandfather had the opportunity to bless her with a job, but she refused that job because she just felt that she had to go and find her own. She wanted to just be her own person. Many years down the line, she's regrets. She wished she had taken that opportunity because it was right there. So the point is that if you have the opportunity as a leader to help your family, you choose not to because you want to be selfless. You want that name that, oh, I was governor, I was senator, I was this, and I never helped anybody, my family members. It will be celebrated, but how would that make your family feel? Is that something your family would be proud of, saying that, yes, my father never gave me one job through his office, or my father never introduced me to anybody? Is that what we're asking for? Let me come to you, Toby.
I think that having integrity is not equal to being poor or not being wise, right? So I would also remember that my mom, when we were passing through Magodo, my mom would say, when I was working, they were selling this land 200K. And I'm like, Mom, please, I don't want to hear.
Because you know by then.
You know by then, so why are you just me now? You know, those kind of things. And you also gave your example. So those kind of things kind of like authors, knowing fully well that people that were in your shoes made that decision and you didn't take it. So for me, I think that if you go through a process to acquiring things for your family, it's not bad. So if, for instance, in this case, there was an application, right, to say, okay, you're allocating lands in Banana Island and you put your family's name and they go through that process to ensure that they get it. I don't think that's bad, but saying that, I mean, even my grandfather too had that same experience. We had stories of him acquired that he should have done a lot of things but didn't because of integrity. Sometimes I just sit back and say, this integrity matter, you get a CPU. So that's
so that's really where I wanted this conversation to go. In today, if we all here have an opportunity, would we use that opportunity to serve and also assist those around us? When we come back, we continue and open our phone lines. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the one who can make time stand still forever, Mr. Kelechi Amadi. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, my brother.
You love that intro, Abi?
Yeah. It was great.
Okay,
Thank you.
We try like that.
Thank you.
Now my question, which I feel is a cheap question.
I'll go ahead.
What does ISO stand for?
That is it. I think I'll drink.
No, you're joking.
I'm not joking.
No. Seyi, you didn't whine me. You're whining me now.
I think I'll drink.
Huh?
No problem.
Okay.
I've always known this as ISO. I never bothered to know what it means. I know what it means, but I never bothered to know what the acronym is. Tell me the brand of camera that I use, so much so that I even became an ambassador. That's very easy. It's out there.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
I just said, let me give you this one as a token of my appreciation.
Sony.
Drink!
I'm not done. You did not say final answer.
It's final answer.
You did not ask me if that was my final answer.
You don't have any choice again. It's only
Nikon.
how many cameras do they have? My
Nikon.
friend to drink. I gave you a very easy something.
Nikon now.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing this issue of selfless service versus helping to support those around you, based leveraging on your opportunity to support those around you. I want to come to you, Mariam.
Yes, I haven't heard both of them. I feel like we're almost blaming our predecessors for not having the money at the time to make some investment that would have paid us today. I mean, there are some things right now, there's some lands that you sell now, you call millions of naira, that some of us cannot afford today. And then in many years to come, our grandchildren will hear that, Auntie Tokwe used to sell it for only 5 million naira. And mommy did not buy it, and now it's 100 million. Do you know how it was for me at that time? Yeah. But I think integrity is about, especially with this Jakande case, is that, first of all, you will not give what you don't have. And for many people at the time, they felt that if they give you an education, if they provide for you, all the necessary things for you to grow and become a human being, and the education for you to now pursue your own path, they have done something beyond, and they've given you a name, so that wherever you go tomorrow and you call my name as your father, you'll be respected. Nobody will call you a son of a thief or a daughter of a thief. That is what I've given you. I may not give you millions of naira. I'm not able to raise that kind of money. If I'm not that way inclined, then I'm not, but I've given you something. Nobody will call you a thief. And then you cannot give what you don't own. When people say that they have put a platform down, exactly what are we saying? The reason why a lot of us are screaming today when politicians say that they have allocated to themselves this life pension of 2 cars that will be changed every other year, life pension that comes in monthly, all these cleaners and domestic staff that they keep changing, traveling abroad for their health. Are we really proud of that? Should we be proud? Because honestly, the question is, should we be proud of that? Because we are. We have called out politicians today because they did not give family members something. You are a senator of 5 terms, and what do you have to show for it? And he says, I have the money that was allocated to me. That's what I have, and that's what I use.
Do we call anybody the child of a thief today?
That's it. That's why we started by saying that we have put integrity on the table, that integrity has no importance anymore because it's money that we worship, material things that we worship. So whether you have integrity or not, if you don't have money, nobody wants to know.
Let me take this call. Thanks for calling, Hassan. You're live. Hello?
Please, let me put one thing at the front corner. There is an oath of office in which all the public servants, the political servants, were obliged to take. That your personal interest must not surpass that one of public interest. So the issue now, let us go back to that. And Jakande's son, he is talking about his father being the architect of Banana Island. He said one thing, But he did not disclose to us how many jobs that name Jakande opened for him.
Yeah.
It's not fair. You see, there's what we call social assets.
Yeah.
What your father gave to you, Morayo, I know your father very well, right from this close trouble in these Lagos. What he gave to you is social assets. And that social asset, I know very well, you must have been drawing from it. Forget about having assets all over the place, having millions of cars, having stars of water. That's not the issue. The most important thing is for you to serve the people. Don't allow yourself to be carried away by the crumbs of the office. That crumbs of the office will come and go. People will vote for you because of your father. People will vote for your father because of his integrity. Okay. You see, don't think the society is still corrupt. We're not corrupt. Up till tomorrow, we still appreciate good people. Buhari was voted in 2015 because of his performance as a military leader.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Please, let me jump in here. Yes, our recent history since not even 1999, our recent history has made it look like integrity does not pay. Being selfless does not pay you. Our recent history has made it look like steal the most you can steal so you can buy justice, buy a good name, because our recent history in Nigeria shows that you can buy a good name. It shows that you can buy loyalty. It shows you can buy anything. So our recent history is changing what should be defined right from wrong. Our recent history is not facts. Our recent history is not the truth. Our recent history must be called out for what it is, bad. Which was why a few days ago here, I said the fact that the president's appointment for me was not good. Because if you appoint someone that has a case against him of corruption, that he settled the states, the US, and returned funds so that he is free, then we have a problem. Because what are we doing is we're laying precedents for our children to believe that you can settle and money will clear your name. When we also give appointments to people that there's a video of them putting money in their cap, we are setting precedents for the future. That is why some child will look up and say, the Nigeria of today, man, I will get into politics, I will steal everything stealable. And I will know that I will settle everybody settleable and I'll be fine. And that is why we are where we are as a country. So that's one perspective. Another perspective is we grew up in a society where the church, religion make us feel like it is better for you to have riches. It has to be a good name is better than the riches. Then we also have the idea that you cannot be if you are rich, you must have done something bad to get rich. And that was the mindset a lot of our grandparents, our parents had. So in their mind, they felt like, let me keep my good name. In poverty, I will get to heaven and I'll be rich, number one. Number two, let me keep my good name so that there is you cannot find, I won't be caught doing anything bad. And all of this combination is why we are seeing a bit of disgruntlement in some children feeling like, my dad had opportunities, he did not take care of himself. You can be rich legitimately. You can be ambitious and have integrity and be selfless at the same time. It can be in one package. And once we don't separate it,
and you can still be a selfless leader and still also
help your
exactly.
people.
So you
can have it in one package.
Yes,
you can have it in one package.
So because you have the opportunity to be the MD of XYZ Bank, and then you are able to provide a platform for your son or your daughter to do something, shouldn't make you that you are being selfish.
I know you have a call. But the biggest thing you can give your children is the ability to be resourceful and generate opportunities for themselves.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. But everybody gives an opportunity to a child, because even though, you can give an opportunity to a child and you mess it up. But the fact that I have the opportunity to give you that, I can provide a platform for you, and you still do it well. So you can actually build on it. So it depends on the child. You're right. The basic is to have that foundation, have the education. I can't put somebody who is a dropout and say, come and become the MD of this company because you're my child. No, you have to have shown the capacity to do it. But what these kind of children of the Jakande family or whoever else is saying that, listen, because our father was such a great leader, he didn't enrich himself, and now we are having to start ground up, right, and build something for ourselves, which is fine, but we've seen our other counterparts who didn't have to go that far, and they're doing way better than us today. That's what I'm saying. That's what this man is probably saying. But let me take this call. Olumide, thanks for calling. You're live.
Thank you so much, Brian and Co. So to say, it's just going to be a quick one because you've taken a lot of my time. I've been holding on the line for a while. That's okay. I'm calling for the first time anyway.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Apologies.
Yes, I must give a thumbs up to Miriam. She has always been precise, and she has always been, she's always on the point every time she makes her comment with respect to this show. And I think Tokwe also spoke well on the same issue of integrity. But you see, one thing is so certain that we all need to know, and that has always been the problem that we have in our society. At a point in time, our value system shifted. And only God knows how, and only God knows why. But because our value system shifted, so that made us lose, or we lost what the interpretation of integrity should be. Now, talking about the fact that you are appointed in a police school office and you needed to, use your influence to probably, get in your family members and stuff like that. See, the basic thing that we all need to know is this. If you appoint someone based on, okay, let me use the word nepotism, so to say. If the person do not go through the normal process, I don't want to use the word fake because I don't want to sound pious. But if the normal processes that should have built that person to attain that position is not followed or is shortcut some way because of the influence of one person or the other, believe you me, that person will not perform well. If at all the person performs well, a point will come or a time will come that the person will not be able to hold last that opportunity. And when you think of all those people, someone was talking about Jakande, you were talking about Razak, Okoya, and so many others. Don't forget that they paid the price they needed to pay by themselves. And that's why they were where they are, and that's why today you are still hearing their name. But look at all these children who somehow, some way, because of the influence of their father or one thing or the other, they don't laugh because they didn't go through the process they were supposed to go through. And apart from the fact that they don't also laugh, the truth is that, you see, today, we have lost the fact that there's a process to everything. We are in a microwave generation where you believe that everything must be achieved within, in a blink of an eye. Instead of going.
Thank you very much, Olumide. Sorry, I lost that call. Let me come to you, Toby, because do we honor our heroes appropriately? Because in a nation where people are selfless, they have the society admonishes and celebrates them to the point where they are willing to be selfless. But our nation, as it is, maybe as Tokwe has said in our recent nation, we don't really honor our heroes. If we had taken a Jakande from the beginning, yes, I know eventually all the governors in our state had at some point tried to, remember him. Somebody just said, the anniversary or something, to go and see Jakande, give him once and take pictures, and we're done. The family is left alone. Maybe another 4 years. That happens. Even Ganifayemi, how many times have we talked about Ganifayemi recently? So that's the reality of the nation that we have. Do we really celebrate these people who have been selfless? So the children are saying, okay, now our fathers have been brave. Ganifayemi is there, even Bekor and some Kuti. These are people that were human rights lawyers that fought for this nation. So their children is saying, okay, our fathers had opportunity, but they never did it. But what happened to them today? So the point is, is there some kind of a system that supports these kinds of people whose fathers, who have the opportunity growing up? Toby?
I actually wish there was a system. But the reality on ground today is that those things, so for instance, you want to employ someone, and the person comes, the person is fit, and then there's somebody else again, equally qualified, and the person says, oh, I'm XYZ's grandchild, right? You won't say because of that you would employ, because that person has gone. And I also want to say that a good name and physical inheritance should not be exclusive of each other. You can actually have both and pass it on to your children. So I'm a bit worried when I hear that in a good name or is what you should leave as against a physical inheritance. Is somehow, I want to be the kind of mother that would leave both a good name and an inheritance for my children, physical inheritance. I mean, because looking at it, a good name also is a form of inheritance.
Okay. Let me take this call. Come to you, Mary. Good morning. Thanks for calling. I have a caller.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning, sir. Mr. Ukuchukwu, yes.
Regular listener to your programs and be calling but I had an opportunity to get you. But today I've gotten you.
Fantastic.
And the discussion we are having now, the Bible said it's a good name is better than gold. Whether you acquire everything on earth, if you acquire everything on earth, in any other source you feel like acquiring them, and the good name is not there, those things are in vain. They will surely be in vain. People know how you acquire your wealth. If you acquire your wealth badly, people know that you acquire this wealth badly. And they will tell you, it will be told on your children. They will say, look at the child of this person, look at the child of this person. Like our senators now, those acquiring wealth, or that way they give them money for constitutional projects, they use it on their own. We know them. By the time they will pass away and our children and their children will come on, they will pass the information to our children. This senator acquired this wealth in this form. They will not regard them. They will not regard them. There's nothing like good name. Acquiring wealth everywhere does not even pay. Even when you are just, Yamuna, I know you very well. As somebody said, your father, I know you very well. If you are living with your father's name, the father's name is leading you all through. It is not his wealth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Then come to you, Mary.
Yes, I think we're also mixing things up when we keep insisting that integrity, and if there's no wealth attached to it, you don't understand. Because what do you think the reward for integrity and selflessness should be? When you insist that it has to come alongside with money, it shows to me that, like everyone else too, you're saying that unless money is attached to something, you don't see the worth that it has. And, you know, that's sad. You don't see the worth that just being a Jakande's son. See, I didn't grow up in Lagos, but the moment I entered Lagos, I knew a lot about him. I mean, if his child or grandchild or even great-grandchild shows up today and will refer to that name, you know, there's nowhere that they cannot enter, at least in Lagos State. There are some people here, I mean, at least for you, I think it's Babangida. There are some names we call here, Mariah, your face will just change. They have money, but they do not have good name.
You don't want to
Yes, you know, they have name. I mean, they have money, but they don't have good names. So it may get them so far, but there are places that they will not enter. There are some times that if they talk too much, people will remind them of who their parents were. You're a thief, just like your father was a thief. I say, if you try me. But Jakande's child may walk in somewhere now, just because he mentioned that name, at least you will get heard. So money is one thing. Wealth will beget wealth if you can. I mean, if I'm a wealthy person, I can pass on my wealth. I may be a wealthy thief. I may be a wealthy murderer. I will still pass on my wealth. But integrity is a whole different thing. Integrity is above all. And I feel that we're mixing it up and saying the reward for integrity and selflessness has to always be wealth.
Okay, we're not mixing it up. We're just saying that you can have both. Yes. Right? You asked the question. You said, are we honoring our heroes? We are not honoring our heroes in Nigeria. Based on the way Nigerians behave and based on the way we honor, the pattern of honor that we give in Nigeria, we are honoring thieves. Nigeria honors thieves. Nigeria honors corrupt people. Nigeria honors you if you just have money. Anyhow you get it. In Nigeria. Don't be caught being a thief. But once you have money, you're good. So that's the template, and it's a bad one. Why are Americans willing to go and die in the war? Why do Americans take up? You might find it extremely controversial, but if you were a soldier, you are an American soldier. Yes, there might be, while you're serving, if you enter that plane, they will stand up. You enter the bus, they will stand up. They will upgrade you, as in everywhere. The honor is too much. They will salute you when you put that flag in front of your house that your child is serving. There is a societal way we can decide to honor police officers that everybody would say send their first-class graduates, even with the current pay, because of the honor you give to them. So it is The result we are seeing in society is based on the level of honor we have given to the things that, and we will continue to see it until we change the script from inside out. That's one thing. I also, there's a quote by Bill Gates. He said that if you were born poor, it is not your fault. If you die poor, it is your fault. I think that if parents, children of selfless civil servants, selfless politicians, selfless ministers should stop feeling like they missed out when they see children of politicians that stole money. And many children of our selfless politicians always feel that way, and they say it because they feel like, maybe if my dad also did this, maybe I would at least have this house, I would have this. Don't feel like you missed out. Acknowledge that your dad made a sacrifice, your mom made a sacrifice, and it is a big deal. And God has a way.
Even teachers who have served.
Yes.
They have so many teachers who have lived 30 years serving.
Primary school teachers.
The teachers, they've been there, and maybe their colleagues who went to go and steal. And the work they've done is not recognized. They get you maybe a car after your service here, they give you maybe 2-3 million whereas
you are begging to get gratuity.
For your pension, for your gratuity. So it's part of that issue where their family or their spouse saying, you are a teacher now. You had access to this now. Why didn't you even do something for yourself? Why didn't you even have an opportunity to even buy one land? Now, Jakande's wife is living in Lukeju. Lukeju is a nice place in Lagos. But many of her counterparts in the past, they are probably living in Banana Island right now. All the other people, so we're just saying that
feel bad.
If we honor our heroes, we won't be having anybody saying that, feel bad about the fact that their father had the opportunity and didn't use it.
How do you fight corruption, Safe?
Okay, I was just thinking about honoring our heroes, and because we're talking about...
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me pause you for a quick second. I was holding for a minute. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Larry, you're live. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
First time caller.
Oh, welcome to the show.
Yes. I'll start with the last speaker talking about values. Our value system is one big problem. Let's talk from national honors. How many people who have been selfless have actually been given national honors in this country? You become a VP, you are given the second highest national honor. You become a governor, you are given maybe the third highest national honor. Just because you got to this position.
Yeah.
We have somebody going around that is keep going around in the social media, got it rightly. Nobody
among us.
Nobody.
Define
Yoruba used to say, "Ìsàlẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ó lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́." Ìsàlẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ó lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́. Any among us wealth has some dark space in it, and that is what we worship. All of us, you go to a party. The director in the ministry of something you have spent about 20 million for the wedding party of his child, and you are all dancing, you are smiling, you are eating from it.
Oh, goodness. Mr. Larry, Tokwa is going to be giving out 40 houses when she's 40. So
yes.
And it's real, and it's real money.
Legitimate.
And it's humongous money.
I actually really believe, honestly, I'm going to beg. This mindset is what entrenches poverty in our society. We look at people that have money and feel like they must have gone about it in the corrupt way. I have met many people that if you see the kind of money that is in their account, you will say, this is humongous, and they did it legitimately. No political affiliation, no contract, not stealing. So it is possible for you to make money legitimately, sir, and every other person watching legitimately. But let me...
Yeah, okay, you want to say something? Go ahead, man.
Just a little... from that, because people that have made humongous wealth that are not in politics, people have accused them of being affiliated to politicians. Yeah. There's just always, so if you're looking hard enough, you may find something,
something.
But I was going to say that, yes, we're not doing a very good job of honoring people who have been selfless. But I feel that we cannot blame, there's this Nigeria we like to blame, like we're not part of it. We already do it to each other, in different ways, where you have a colleague, let's say we're sitting down here and there's one of us that is quite selfless and everything, but she does not drive the latest SUV as she comes in. She's not changing her weight. She's not traveling the world. Do we treat her better, or do we treat her worse? So those are the sort of, this Nigeria that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's all
of us.
We all worship materialism. We all worship money. We all worship the way it looks. That's why you have the issue of people who are insisting on looking a certain way, even though they cannot afford it.
Because they know that's what
the only way
does.
they get the respect that they want. That name. So until all of us individually start respecting people for their selflessness, for their integrity, for their character, then we can have mouths to talk. But all of us in one way or the other, we just...
Mariam has finished the show. I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because really, as much as we're discussing to reference in one family, but the truth is that we all do it in different ways. Yeah. Everybody, we change our cars, we change our circle of friends, because they keep telling you, if you look at the 5 people around you and they are not, you have to leave that, and you now live good.
You can live good people, and you are allowed to drive into a particular gate. And you drive a small car and they don't greet you the same way they greeted you when you were driving.
Exactly. So these are things that we see every single day that makes us feel like, listen, these are the people that are honored. And we'll continue to look for how we can get into that circle so that everybody wants to be respected. Toby, let me let you jump in for a second.
Yes, and speaking on the good name parts, I agree that that's number one, right? But there are people also who have left good names and their children after them have behaved in ways that you would question if this person really came from this lineage.
Exactly.
Right? So, for example, now there's this popular actor. Whenever I hear his name, I'm always thinking that this man is such a really good man. But they've been in the rounds in social media now. And I'm like, why? What did this man do to earn this public display of, whatever it is that we're...
embarrassment.
Yes, that we're seeing now. And I think that also, beyond the good name also, there are times when it is important to instill the right values in our children, because those are the things that will speak up on the days where wealth and physical cash cannot speak, right?
We have to wrap up, but I think I have a call from Gombe. Good morning, Honorable from Gombe. Honorable Human, welcome to the show, sir, from Gombe. You're live. Very well, sir.
Yeah. I just wanted to contribute on the issue of...
Yes.
Hello?
You're live. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. How are you?
Very well.
I just wanted to say a word regarding the late doctor of Igbo State, Lateef, Jakande. It was opportune to attend my primary school and part of secondary school in Lagos. And part of the thing that moves my mind is that the way this man is produced is a free education system in Lagos. I remember even the Bible we used in the school, they used the pencil, the exercise book, pencil, all this we are able to enjoy privileges under the administration of our Lateef, Jakande. So truly, to leave a legacy of them is far better than living in material wealth for children. You see, in Lagos now, if you look at what happened, all these high-rising schools that were built currently in Lagos by the present and the immediate past administration, all the areas were reserved and that that time I remember he built those halfway block buildings that we call Jakande blocks. People were laughing that time, not knowing that this has to show those lands. Otherwise, by now, Lagos State government wouldn't have put any place to build those high-rising buildings for children that would have.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Let me take a message also here. This from Otumba Karim. Is that what you have? Otumba Karim? Okay. I am not surprised Babake Kerie Alaji LKJ did that. He's one of those we can refer to as a politician, not a geontician. I remember seeing him in the Toyota Crown car at Oshodi then, not bulletproof or state-of-the-art. It is a high time we have a new social order and recognize those who impacted our lives positively in politics, education, health, economy, and etc.
Benedicta on YouTube says, Pa Taiwo Akimomi that designed the Nigerian flag. I remembered only during the independence that a car cannot even reach his house due to bad roads. Another Bukumi says, in a bid to leave physical inheritance for our children, we mustn't lose sight of the good name and the importance of training your child well and giving them values like integrity and respect. Another person said, And Nam says, if Jakande had appointed some wealth to himself, he wouldn't be revered today as he is. My parents' main inheritance to me is education. They sacrificed for me to get it. Moses Ade says, at what stage of life did children ask parents to acquire wealth on their behalf? The issue is we are raising an entitled generation. That's also very important to highlight. Oladidi says, our value has shifted indeed. It is evident in the caliber of people leading us, people who you believe might be crooks, according to him. Class mentality and people who are not guided or measured in speech.
Interesting. So I mean, I think that's a good way to wrap up the show. But I think the reason why we had this conversation is because of the speech Mr. Seyi Jakande had. He never complained to us that he was sulking that his father didn't have the land. That's not the objective. He was just highlighting that his father never apportioned, and we're then using that to see how a lot of people like that always feel that maybe their father's selflessness could have actually also benefited them somehow. You know, even at the basic, nobody's asking you to go and steal. But something as basic as having some property so that mommy is not in Ilupeju at this point, or maybe she's having vacation in London at 60 years, she's retiring well, you know, stuff like that. And it's also okay if you don't. I mean, listen, trust me, it's okay if you don't. But I'm just saying that there are different people in different strokes for different folks. But as a former governor, I wish them all the best, and I'm sure that Lagos State government will do the needful. And I will also hope that all across states, other people, they are heroes in the far corner of Taraba State, far corners of various places within the country, that they're hoping that the government will be
Taraba was that's so random. Sorry.
Be honored. That's all we can take on today's show. We'll see you tomorrow.